Thanks for joining us. Tuscaloosa police say a man who was arrested on sexual abuse charges in February is now facing new charges.
That's because another victim has now come forward with accusations against the man. The details in our top story at 6. Tuscaloosa police juvenile investigators arrested 63-year-old Jerry Lewis Swindle again on March 28th. Swindle turned himself in after a grand jury indicted him on charges of sexual abuse. According to the victim, Swindle abused her when she was 15 years old. She's now 44. Swindle was originally arrested and charged with 3 counts of sexual abuse back in February. Now, these sexual abuse charges come just as a Sexual Assault Awareness Month is beginning.
Experts say someone in the United States becomes a victim of sexual abuse every 2 minutes. WVUA's Jennifer Edwards joins us now live in studio with more. Jennifer.
That's right, Lynn and Phillip. And just like the alleged victim in this case, experts say it's not uncommon for people to wait several years before reporting a sexual abuse situation.
It is something that not a lot of people like to talk about.
Turning Point Services counselor Jessica Hagel says it's the silent sexual abuse can create that they're trying to change.
We want to hopefully be able to prevent a lot of rapes and sexual assaults before they happen, and to get people to know that they are not alone in this fight.
But Hagel says getting victims to come forward isn't always easy.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with us as a society placing a lot of blame on the victim, and especially as children thinking that it's their fault for what happened. Women and men both alike go through some type of traumatic sexual trauma or rape in their childhood or even in their teens, and then, you know, they're now well into their 40s and 50s and just now being able to talk about it.
Tuscaloosa Police Sergeant Michael Chasson says this long length of time can make it harder for authorities to make an arrest.
You got reconstruction things, you know, you got to find out exactly where it happened at, you know, what the laws were at that time. You know, there are new state laws like, you know, sexual abuse of a child less than 12. Well, that's not going to be applicable in cases that are that old. You're not going to be able to use that law. You know, you have to use what was in existence at that time.
But once an arrest is made, both say it can benefit other victims.
Once you have that first victim come forward and is brave enough to come forward and tell their story and tell what happened, then you'll have additional victims come forward.
Cause a lot of other survivors of sexual assault to come forward and get the strength that they need to get the help and to talk about it.
Now, if you or someone you know is a victim of sexual abuse, or if you would like more information about Turning Point services, you are encouraged to call Turning Point. It's 205-758-0808. Phillip?
All right, thanks, Jennifer. As people all across Alabama and the country are getting ready to say their final goodbyes to a Crimson Tide legend, those who knew former U of A Athletics Director Mal Moore are talking about the kind of person he was. Alabama head football coach Nick Saban says he has called Moore a truly special person. Even though Moore's name is connected to many championships, Saban says he will remember Moore for the man he was. Saban says Moore impacted athletics at Alabama like no one ever has or probably ever will.
You know, the way he treated and thought about other people, probably the most caring person about always putting other people first that I've ever been around, especially in a position of leadership that he had. Very, very compassionate in terms of other people. I never saw him ever in the years that I've known him treat anybody with disrespect. You know, I think we all could learn a lot, and I certainly have become a better person being around Mal Moore for the class and character, honesty, integrity that, you know, he had as a person and a coach and as an athletic director. And, you know, it's just tough losing a good friend. And I think his legacy at this institution is going to last for a long, long time.
There will be a memorial service honoring Coach Mal Moore Thursday at 3 p.m. in Coleman Coliseum. And in lieu of flowers, gifts, or letters, the Moore family is asking the public to consider a donation to the Crimson Tide Foundation or the Mal and Charlotte Moore Caring Days Center.
The Tuscaloosa County school system has taken another step toward finding its next leader. There are 5 candidates in the running. School officials say they'll start the interview process next week. Board members told us they're looking for someone who has experience, was formerly a teacher, and has student achievement as their top priority. A look now at the candidates. Dr. Walter Davey is the Deputy Superintendent of the Tuscaloosa County School System. Dr. Valia Lee is a consultant for EduTrax and the former superintendent for Twiggs County, Georgia schools. Dr. Brenda Rickett is the Assistant Superintendent for the Opelika School System. Dr. Elizabeth Swinford is a superintendent in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And Dr. Lawrence Vickers is superintendent of the Saraland City School System. The school board hopes to have a decision made by April 25th. Well, it's a pretty big deal to get a scholarship for college, and getting that scholarship from one of the most recognizable names in American history, also pretty neat.
12 students at the University of Alabama are Coca-Cola first-generation scholars, and they were honored today. These students are the first in their families to attend college, and they each receive a $5,000 scholarship each year for 4 years. Now, 4 of the scholarship recipients are from the Tuscaloosa, Northport area, and another is from Birmingham.
Being the first person in your family to go to college is not a reason to fail, it's a reason to succeed. They're all about, breaking the cycle and graduating from school, because education is so important.
Well, this scholarship is much more than just a monetary contribution to our education. It's all about reciprocity, giving back to the community.
The National Rifle Association has some recommendations for improving school safety.
The group released the finding today. Some of their 8 suggestions include a training program to arm school personnel and developing an online assessment tool to let administrators gauge their school security. These recommendations follow the Newtown, Connecticut school massacre back in December and the recent discussions about gun control. The director of the task force says 40 to 60 hours of training would be required for school officials to be armed. Meanwhile, the father of one of the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre victims hopes that politicians will get on board with these recommendations.
I think politics needs to sort of be set aside here, and I hope this doesn't, lead to name calling, but rather this is recommendations for solutions, real solutions that will make our kids safer.
And President Obama is also proposing new gun control measures geared toward increasing school safety.